David in South Bend, Indiana, listening on Redeemer Radio. David, you're on with Karlo Broussard.
Hey, you guys, listen, first thing, thanks for what you do. I listen most days. I enjoy, I learn, and I try to pass it on. So here's my question. I've got a couple of Protestant friends that we were talking recently, once saved, always saved.
Sure.
That came up, and in the context that one of their friends had recently finally come back to church, been baptized, and then decided, well, we're so relieved that he is now saved.
Right.
And I gently brought up that, well, that's great. That's a great start. Well, that didn't go over well. So what I'm looking for, if it doesn't involve Scripture, it's not going to get a hearing. So
Sure.
I'm looking for 2 or 3 places I can go to say, well, let's talk about these passages as well as the 1 or 2 that you've got.
Yeah, so thanks, David. It's a great question, and we can break up this belief of once saved, always saved into 2 parts and respond to both. So if we take the former, the first part, once saved, the idea that salvation is a one-time event in the past and nothing left is to be done, well, you can share passages such as this, passages that would suggest or actually prove in Scripture that salvation is a process, but it's not a one-time event in the past, but there's different dimensions. So, David, you could affirm your Protestant friend's belief that, yes, there is an initial stage of salvation where we initially come into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ, where his life is infused within our soul, where we're justified, we're in good standing with God, we have his grace dwelling within us. And that initial state in no way involves presupposed works. There's no way that we can merit the initial grace of salvation that moves the heart and the mind to faith. And the passage that's familiar with your Protestant friends, David, would be Ephesians 2, 8 through 9. But if you notice, in that very text, David, you can always turn to, just go 1 verse later to verse 10 of Ephesians chapter 2. And St. Paul talks about how there are certain works that God has prepared for us to walk in. So we have that initial stage of salvation, but there's also an ongoing process of salvation which involves the works of charity that we need to perform. You can also refer them to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 18. David, in 1 Corinthians 1:18, St. Paul writes, "For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved." Notice it's a present participle there, being saved, which indicates it's a present state of salvation, an ongoing process. And then finally, so we have our initial stage, we have our present stage, and then there's also a future dimension, a final salvation that the Bible speaks of. So for example, in Matthew 10:22, Jesus himself says, "You will be hated by all men for my name's sake, but he who endures to the end will be saved." So as my mentor and friend and colleague Tim Staples likes to say, we have been saved, we are being saved, and we hope to be saved. So that deals with the once saved part of the belief. And then finally, David, the second part, of course, is always saved, which indicates this common Protestant belief of eternal security, that once I'm saved, there's nothing I could do to lose that grace of salvation. And David, all you really need to do is go to 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 3 through 4, where St. Paul himself says, "But with me it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or by any human court. I do not even judge myself." So St. Paul is basically saying, I'm not aware of any sort of sins that would take me away from God and destroy God's life in my soul. But he says, I don't even judge myself. And even, for example, in 1 Corinthians 9:27, St. Paul says that I pummel my body. He puts his body under mortification, right? Mortification of the flesh. We're in the season of Lent. This is very appropriate. Why? He says, lest I myself should become a dokimos, which is disqualified. Or I might be confusing the Greek word there for dokimos. I'd have to look at the Greek. I might be thinking of another text. But St. Paul literally says, I myself should become disqualified, literally a castaway. that is, separated from Jesus Christ. So, David, hopefully these passages will be helpful for you. Once again, you want to attack the once saved with that process, those different stages of salvation or dimensions, and then you want to attack the always saved by sharing with them those Bible passages that indicate St. Paul doesn't even believe in the eternal security.
Thank you. That'll give us something to chew on, and I'll probably call back next week.
Well, you do that, David. We look forward to it, my friend.
And thank you very much for your kind words, David.